All right, so I'm going to talk about the current situation here in the Puget Sound region. And I have to be careful because if you say the wrong things and you mention what is affecting most of the world right now, then YouTube will demonetize it, which is stupid. But anyway, this isn't a video about that. I am getting my coffee because it's pretty early in the morning. Well, it's not super early, but it's kind of early. And yeah, so it's been a day, it's been a night for sure. Make sure you join our Discord. I'm gonna keep saying it, like I said in every single video. Why? Because I'm trying to grow that platform so that I can talk and that we both can talk and chat, and it's not something that has to be sanitized as much as you would see on YouTube. YouTube will still, obviously, I put videos and stuff like that on it, but there's a reason why a lot of folks are jumping over onto Discord because of the simple fact it's just a lot easier. I can still put YouTube videos on there too, and then we can still talk. It's just a whole lot easier. And I think folks are just frustrated with YouTube, right? Because it doesn't, some of the things that they're doing hurts people more than it helps. Anyway, that's besides the point. One of the big things, and the Governor Inslee, has been doing press conferences every single morning. And then local health departments have too, and talking about this particular situation. Right now, Pierce, King, and Snohomish County are feeling major effects of what's going on. And if you're not sure of what is what, Seattle is King County, Everett is the Snohomish County area, and then Tacoma is Pierce County. Of course, there's a lot of cities within those counties, but you're looking at about a population of about 4 million people. And so it's a huge, huge area. And I think that folks don't quite understand that. But we're talking 4 million or so people. The big effects are people are definitely staying home, which is good. A lot of companies are being very proactive. A lot of the tech companies are being proactive. They're literally allowing a lot of telecommuting. So that has, or teleworking, I should say, and telecommuting, where people are able to work from home and take care of everything that they need to, which is probably the best thing to do. Personally, I think that companies should do that anyway. It's just a lot cheaper, to be honest with you. But that's a different story. But a lot of companies are doing that. A lot of the big ones like Amazon, Facebook, Microsoft, they're all literally just making sure their campus is kind of cleared out so that their workers are good to go. And so it's not necessarily people are, because some people will say, well, this has nothing to do with me. Governor Inslee definitely said something that made sense because some people just don't quite get it. But he's saying that, you're going to impact your grandpa or your grandma or someone's grandparent. You know what I mean? Like there's some people that just don't. And what one of the health department folks said that some people are scientifically illiterate. It's not their fault, but I mean it is what it is. Like a lot of people just don't believe um, certain things. They try to minimize it and say, well, it must be similar to this or it must be similar to that. And it's like, but it's not. It really isn't. It's something completely different. But the area is feeling the impact. Tourism is obviously down, and I expect that to happen. The problem with Seattle, more so than Everett or Tacoma, is that is a city that relies heavily on tourism, right? We talk about technology and tech companies being a big boost here and a big job maker. That's true, it is. But I say when people talk about, is if Amazon is going to leave, what that will do to Seattle. Seattle has always been somewhat of a touristy city to begin with, way before Amazon even was a thing. So yeah, is technology the one that gets the most shine here? Sure. But tourism is a big deal. Keep in mind, people take cruises from Seattle up to Alaska and Canada, right? So it's there's a lot here. There's also a lot of little cool villages that people go to. Leavenworth is an example. A lot of islands that folks can go to, whale watching. I mean, there's tons of stuff that involves tourism here. So that's being impacted greatly. You got to keep in mind too, Mount Rainier, Mount Everest. No, not Mount Everest. Mount St. Helens and Mount Rainier. It's early, I'm sorry. Those are tourist attractions. So my point is that is one of the big industries that's been impacted greatly by this. And so it is causing a damper. Seattle relies much more so on tourism of people from outside of the region than any other place in the entire state, right? So restaurants and bars literally look forward to that out of state tourism to help propel them. Not only that, but local folks and all of that too. But the out of state folks help the downtown core of Seattle. And when that's kind of trickling down a little bit, it impacts them greatly. Now, the other thing is that Seattle is a big sports city. So you have a lot of different sports teams. I've talked about them. You know, we have Major League Baseball. We have we're planning on having hockey, but we have the NFL. We have MLS, Major League Soccer. The wrestling folks have XFL, which is the football team here. So we have those things as well. And a lot of people go to these different events. And then afterwards, so that's a big economic drive too. After they leave, they go to a lot of the bars and restaurants downtown. I mean, I've been down there after a Sounders game, and it's chaotic. People are going to all the different places to just continue to enjoy their night. Some of them go to those places before. So now the governor has basically banned events that have 250 people or more. Okay. So that is for the three counties, right? For sure. So that knocks out all of those. Now, some of those, I think the baseball team have already said that they were not going to have games or they moved them. But that is a huge blow to downtown Seattle because obviously these are mostly local people who go to the games. And so now the local folks aren't going to be going to those restaurants either. So the restaurants are taking it and bars are taking it from different angles. Not only is international travel down, that was the first. Now national travel is down. Now local folks are not going to be coming in because big events like that are being canceled. So that also impacts the convention industry too, which a lot of convention goers, which the convention center in Seattle is the biggest in the state by far, that affects that. So those convention goers aren't going to be coming. Those events have to be canceled. And that also impacts a lot of the retail businesses downtown in Seattle. So it is a huge trickle effect, right? Now, schools are still open as far as like public schools for K through 12, those are still open. But schools that have been impacted are being closed to be cleaned or what have you. There is a possibility, though, in the next few days that they may shut all of them down. They're trying to figure out how to do that because a lot of parents rely, if they're low income, a lot of kids also rely on school for food. So then you have to think of the impact of how to fix that. Now, one of the schools took, I guess, a page from South Korea, maybe. They have drive up places where people can go and actually get food. So you literally drive up and they are offering food to those students. So that's probably a good idea. Noel brings up a good point. There's some people that may not have transportation, and I think that the school districts have to figure that out. But I think that actually closing down schools is probably a smart thing, and I've been saying that. I understand it's going to be difficult, but I mean, the outcome of not doing that is going to be much worse. So that's kind of the circumstance as of right now. Now, when they're talking about Everett, Everett has some situations going on up there. Their event center, it's not as much of a touristy city, obviously, out of the three bigger areas, or out of the three big areas, Everett, Seattle, and Tacoma. But it does have events that go on up there. They have a minor league hockey team up there. They have a few little events that go on at their convention center and stuff like that. Those things are being canceled. So in King and Snohomish County, the health department is banning events, not banning events, but events that have 250 or less are allowed to happen, but there are certain protocols you have to do. You have to make sure that there's a certain distance between people. So that really does still impact a lot of things because it's just hard, right? It makes things very complicated. So that does affect things like that. So their hockey team is probably not going to be holding any events anytime soon. Now, Tacoma is the next biggest city in the area. The impacts are going to be huge too. Now, Tacoma doesn't rely on tourism, just like Everett. It doesn't rely on foreign tourists as much as Seattle does, not even close. National tourism, people don't even hardly know where Tacoma is. But locally, that's a different story. Tacoma has a huge, huge concert industry down here. So the Tacoma Dome is one of the biggest, and so it holds events constantly in that facility. And so, especially right now in Seattle, the Key Arena is closed because they're renovating it. So everything has been down here in Tacoma, and even when Key Arena was open, a lot of stuff happened in Tacoma because the venue space is large, and it is a pretty good space. They've modernized it and did everything. So there's a lot of events that happen down here, and all of those events are now going to be pretty much canceled because they're over 250. Now, we don't have the restriction from the health department yet that says that you have to, keep certain distances, and retail industries and things like that in the entire region, they're saying definitely keep those places open as much as possible. Obviously telling people that, if you have a bar or a restaurant or what have you, still keep them open. They're not, as long as you take certain protocols and safety and stuff like that. And so that makes sense. However, people just aren't going. I mean, when they show video of downtown Seattle, it looks like some of the side streets of downtown Tacoma. You hardly see anybody, right? You hardly see anyone in areas that are like the busy spots of Seattle because people are just not venturing out. The other thing is that, so in terms of Tacoma, big impact because a lot of these concert goers aren't going to come. Places like McMenamins, it has a huge event space where you have concerts and stuff like that too. There are a few that are actually pending, but probably those aren't going to happen either because that is a very big event space. I think it holds 400 people, so it's going to be impacted, right? So there is going to definitely be an effect. A lot of the restaurants down here aren't facing the same issues. So here's the problem with, in terms of Seattle, and why there's a lot of issues. Some of their restaurants are closing. There's 3 that have closed due to this particular issue, right? It was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak, because I had mentioned before, restaurants are struggling anyway downtown because landlords are charging way more than what the properties are worth. Let's just be real. None of the places downtown in Seattle are worth what they're going for. And I could say the same thing about Tacoma. But none of those spaces are worth that amount to begin with. And then there's heavy, steep competition. So folks are opening up restaurants down there over and over and over again, which doesn't make any sense. They keep doing it, and it's oversaturated. So there's a natural culling of restaurants to begin with because people are like, well, there's a lot of choices. And if customer service isn't good, or if the food may not be that great, or if the environment may not be conducive to what they like, then people will vote with their feet and go someplace else, right? So there's that natural effect. When you add in the fact that it's so expensive, you have to have a good turnaround constantly of people coming in or people ordering food for takeout. Otherwise, you're not going to really make it. So those are the issues, and then this is also affecting people. So a lot of the leadership is saying to people, at least do takeout, like call up and make an order, so these places can survive. But there have been three that are now just completely closing for good as of this point. Tacoma, I haven't heard of any that are doing that. Folks have been pretty, for example, I have to knock on wood, the Painting Panda has been doing pretty good during this. Last weekend, we had a birthday party, and the folks were still coming in doing things. So it we haven't felt anything yet. I don't know what will happen as time goes on, but down here things are a little bit different. And again, the rents are not so astronomically bad as what you would see up in Seattle. I don't know of any closures either in Everett. Now, of course, businesses will close for various different reasons for various different things, but it's not as frequent, obviously, as what you see up in Seattle, especially because keep in mind too, our business is not a tourist business. So it's mainly relying on a lot of local people, obviously. And a lot of the businesses up in Everett, when you're looking at restaurants and bars and breweries, those are all local people typically. You know what I mean? But Seattle, a lot of those, when we're talking downtown, are geared for everything, right? So the impacts are jarring. Now, where do we go from here? Don't know, right? A lot of the other parts of the country aren't where we are, right? We're kind of, like the governor said, in 2 more weeks or so, other places might be where we are today, but where will we be in another 2 weeks, right? We don't know, right? But I do really appreciate what the governor had to say today. It really and truly, even Noel said that it was great hearing what he had to say, and just kind of his response to it. I appreciate it. It really does help clear things up, and the different folks there talking, it really helped clear things up. All of the local mayors were there, so the mayor of Everett, Seattle, and Tacoma were all there at that meeting. They didn't talk, but they were there. All of the main folks from the health departments and stuff like that. So it was really good seeing all of that. And it definitely helps. Just curious as to what's going to happen as far as the schools. But the universities have already closed and canceled classes. They're still open for folks coming in to get information. But it wouldn't surprise me if that's going to probably close down as well. So yeah, we'll see. But anyhow, that's kind of the situation here. Make sure that you join our Discord. Like I said, we can talk about pretty much anything on there, with exceptions. I mean, there's a rules, section there of things that you have to follow. But other than that, we talk about anything and post funny stuff too. So anyhow, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, I will see you. Take care.